He led the donkey by a length of twine along the abandoned railway line, and the air was drenched in green, and the air was drenched in green.
The leaves trapped a thick green light. Slashes of oilseed rape struck across the land, subsidy yellow, dazzling, sweet with the scent of public money. Up in the free woods, the white pulse of spring went coursing through the May. White dead nettle, cow parsley, stitchwort, jack by the hedge. Up steep slopes of Edgewood, wild garlic was interploding. The tree canopy sealed in vertical lawns of flower, the sexy animal musk. Inside the free, stinky woods, deer and small birds stirred the white on green heraldry. What would you make of this beggar priest of Orpheus? You see, scruffy old git, cap pulled down over his owl face, mac tied with string, mud spattered wellies, a bumpkin, a village idiot, a John Barleycorn, drunk maybe, mad maybe, muttering to himself, is it? At nothing in particular.
There was an old man named Barleycorn. His stick was crooked and his coat was torn. He lived in a hedge of holly and thorn, with no more sense than the day he was born.
Anonymous nutter in the woods, drowned out by the songs of chiffchaff, redstart and garden warblers, orchard blossom, wood anemone, stitchwort, high blue sky zipping with swallows. The oak was out before the ash. Omens are good, for weather at least. Auguries open from wildflowers, sentiments tuned the soul to green noise. There in woods, the derelict priest led a beast to Wininicas. As spring careered over hills into May Day.
He led the donkey by a length of twine along the abandoned railway line, and the air was drenched in green, and the air was drenched in green.
Listen, Clot, where's the cuckoo? All these birds singing, why can't we hear the cuckoo? Every year one sings above the ford at Wigwig, but not this year. Where's it gone? Once upon a time, in a land not far enough away, the cuckoo arrived and landed in an oak tree. Overjoyed, the poor folks of Madeley wanted to keep the cuckoo and the summer it brought with it forever, so they built a wooden fence around the cuckoo oak. Nowadays it's a pub. 2 eat for the price of 1. Kids eat free by the fire station, Tweedale Industrial Estate. Then some vicar tried to imprison the bird to stop the summer flying away. Some global warming that, eh, Knocker? But it's not as stupid as it sounds. The arrival of the cuckoo is serious business. As soon as we hear it, we turn the money over in our pockets. Stop work, down tools, start drinking, celebrate spring.
If the cuckoo sings when the hedge is brown, sell thy horse and buy thy corn. If the cuckoo sings when the hedge is green, keep thy horse and sell thy corn.
Cuckoo's gone. So where is it, fool? It's gone to Wininicas. Under this ground as we know it now is another. Deeper than a well bottom. Deeper than a quarry floor, deeper than hell's ceiling, and the cuckoo's gone there. Cuckoo travels the world and has no home, but is welcome everywhere. The cuckoo builds neither nest nor feeds its young, yet other birds will sacrifice their own to care for it. The cuckoo's song has only 2 notes, yet it is the sweetest. 1 note it sings is for this world, and 1 note it sings for the other. It's a seesaw, back and forth between worlds, balancing on a thread, a tiny silence, neither here nor there. Sometimes the cuckoo gets stuck. If it sticks in this world, it dies. If it sticks in the other, it has to make its way through the underworld. What the Welsh call Anawn, what they called here long ago Wininicas, the below place. The cuckoo travels between these worlds because it is the one called Orpheus, farseer, singer, piss taker. 2 notes. You watch the sun coming up because that's where you're from. I watch it going down because that's where I'm going. Between the two of us, one hell of a journey, eh?
He led the donkey by a length of twine along the abandoned railway line, and the air was drenched in green. And the air was drenched in green.
First light slanted over frost. Like troublesome thoughts, the birds have been pecking at the silence since dark. Now, in a light which brightened from violet to gold, they took on individual forms and sounds. Throaty wheezes of collared doves, chattering of sparrows, the foraging calls of rooks and jackdaws, following the going to work traffic out into fields. The chill brought me to myself. In my dream there was an inscription. Charcoal grey characters floated over pale pinky lilac, like some kind of dawn writing, like the markings on moth wings. What was I doing here? I had to remember what I was doing here, living in much Wenlock like a cuckoo in the nest, belonging but not belonging, a parasite making claims on an ancient place which existed here when Milberger rode in on a white donkey on May Day 680 and claimed this 24 square miles of land called Wininicas. She was sainted, but the land was forgotten. Scan the garden for a way to understand how this happened. Nothing I saw belonged to me. Soil, apple trees, birds, frost, and it never would. What belonged to me was a memory embedded inside the landscape itself. If I could only recall it, give it a shape. But I knew its name, Wininicas. As morning brightened, Sparrow Society rose to full chirrup. Little birds thrummed through the air and blatted around gardens, collecting beak-sized pillows of fluff to rebuild their nests in the eaves. They've been doing this for countless generations. Imagine the ghosts of everyone who ever lived in those houses, scratching in the dust for crumbs of memory. And now the sparrows faced a hopeless end. After all these years, it was a curse. I'd seen that curse before. People leaving the doctors with a final prescription for loneliness. People turning from the postbox, having dropped their reply to that final reminder in the void. People outside the pub, lighting their final cigarette in the rain. I listened to the cheep, bloody cheep of the sparrows, a song which crossed from Wininicas to Wenlock. I followed the birds out into the street. I take the church walk behind the shops, half-Tilbury Guildhall, where I meet a woman with an odd stare. Her hair done up in a bun, looking sideways from another century. She looks traumatised. Her name is Mary Webb. Mary, this town holds you hostage. But spring is your season and there's no turning back. Cherry plum and damson, blackthorn, hedge buds fit to burst. Alder catkins dangle like drips of claret. You're famous now, Mary, wide-eyed with poetry and violets, but your land lies in Wininicas.
Mary, Mary, quite contrary, how's your precious babe? Gone to earth in a land of fairy, never came back again.
I look up to see a grey, beaky face behind leaded windows above the church door's Norman arch. Sir Thomas Butler, first vicar of Wenlock. Butler got the job because he was the last abbot of Shrewsbury, which was dissolved 2 days before Wenlock's priory in 1539. From his window, Butler looks out over the churchyard and writes in his register. Like sparrows under his eaves, gathers bits of things he can hang on to, recording the lives of inmates from monasteries, visiting dignitaries, the burials of organ players, bell ringers, stonemasons, brewers and sextons, the executions of criminals.
Old Tommy Butler looks like a rook, cleans his windows to get a better look. Money for the vicar and a rake for the crook, writes it all down in his big black book.
Butler watches his spring of moments, when blackbirds begin singing, when bumblebees launch into sunlight, when damsons are caught by the white pulse of spring into snow. Then, in 1547, Butler wrote in Latin of the burning of the bones of the Holy Virgin Milburga in Wenlock Cemetery. Daughter of a Saxon warlord of the Megoncetan, and related back to Penda, heathen king of Mercia, Milburga led a monastic community in Wenlock on land called Wininicas in 680. Her bones made miracles and became objects of idolatry. Burn 'em, the vicar was told. Was this the end of Milburga's claim as goddess of this place? Did you send her back to Wininicas, Butler?
Who put the lady on the bonfire? Who put the lady in the flames?
Who put the lady on the bonfire? Who put the lady in the flames?
Who put the lady on the bonfire? Who put the lady in the flames? Who put the lady in the bonfire? Who put the lady in the flames? It's horse and prey.
I edged around the church like a thief, passing gravestones of the dignified dead. Here was the tomb of Dr. William Penny Brooks, patrician benefactor of this town. His whole family's down there under their marble slab in a dark parlour with aspidestras and antimacassars, plotting a new world order for modern Olympians as maids tidied up the teacups and mustered their rustic superstitions to the clay. This town's keeping a lid on you, William. Behind the Victorian mutton chops, there were rumours of dalliances in the undergrowth, but despite all that, you're still this town's head of state. After centuries gnawing on the bones of old secrets, you gave them a potent mixture of science and commerce, the gasworks, the reading library, the Olympics. You also showed them their world as they'd never seen it before. Its natural history of wildflowers, birds, butterflies, rocks and fossils laid out in order, classified, labelled and pinned with Latin names, and magic unspoken since Thomas Butler was forbidden to say mass in it. The wild treasures of Wenlock Edge belong to the people of Wenlock, and now you, Dr. William Penny Brooks, belong to them too.
William Penny Brooks wasn't known for his looks, but the ladies chased him all around town. It must have been his whiskers that did it for the sisters when he caught him with his trousers down.
I watched jackdaws clattering around the priory in their Benedictine black. They had pale blue eyes and spoke to each other in sounds which fitted together tightly, like roof slates on the sky. Jack, Jack, Jack in the pulpit, Jack in the green, Black Jack, 10-ton Jack, Mad Jack, Jack Hammer, Jack Pike, Jack my lad, Jack be nimble, Jack be quick, Jack jumped over the candlestick.
Jack led the donkey by a length of twine along the abandoned railway line, and the air was drenched in green.
A breeze, bringing new weather, raced in from the southwest, holding the promise of rain. From the abandoned railway line through the woods, he looked out between trees, across fields, at the foot of Wenlock Edge, and strained to hear the cuckoo. He was listening to one small stretch of woodland, perhaps half a mile long, only a section of the longest continuous ribbon of trees in England. It ran for 20 miles from Iron Bridge to Craven Arms. The breeze was gathering birdsong, ecstatic, buoyed by their collective power, delirious. From where he stood, the woods were like speakers from which came anarchic music, amplified by the breeze flowing into and along the edge. Inside the woods, the crackling energy was surging through the vegetation. Wood sorrel, sanicle, yellow archangel, herb Paris, early purple orchid, bluebells with their psychedelic scent swirling under trees, wild garlic bursting into a constellation of stars. And amongst all this was a plant of toothwort, a strange, pigmentless parasite of tree roots, with ghostly white stems with small, sickly pink flowers emerge from the earth, bringing a note of mysterious stillness. Toothwort, also called corpse flower, growing from the underworld, the flower of Wininicas. He spoke in an old voice, telling the donkey about the days when they could have tramped this land, visiting isolated cottages, charcoal burners' camps and settlements in hills and woods, always finding an invitation to stay and share food and drink. In return, he'd sharpen blades and put an edge on the old stories by the telling of them around campfires at night. The people would ask what he had seen looking into dark caves, screeding the spring pools, and he would answer their questions about weather, harvests, hauntings, curses, charms, love and death. Always the wrong side of the law and the church, yet free to wander the land, sheltered by the poor in the wild places. Times were going to get harder for the far-seeing ones. They shared an unwelcome cunning in this world. They once brought fire from the gods to read the destiny of folk. Now no one asked him anything, gave him nothing, so he kept his mouth shut. They were damn near invisible, like the toothworts. That's the way it had to be.
There was an old man named Barleycorn. His stick was crooked and his coat was torn. He lived in a hedge of holly and thorn, with no more sense than the day he was born.
I escaped town, returning to paths leading across a few square miles of the edge, and ended up here on Westwood Common. On Wenlock Edge, the wood's in trouble, wrote A.E. Houseman in A Shropshire Lad. And we've been stuck with that bloody poem since 1896. Unlike Mary, Alfred Edward was not one of ours. Houseman thought he'd discovered a land of lost content and set about colonising what he couldn't comprehend with his big fat poem. If we're trading hostages, I'll take Webb over Houseman any day. Houseman imagined a Roman from Wiriconia, now Wroxeter, watching a storm bending trees on Wenlock Edge. The storm linked Houseman and the Roman through the old wind in the old anger. Bending history as well as trees, the tree of man was never quiet, stirring up ghosts. Those trees have always been storm catchers, and when the wind comes barreling in over hills and plains, trouble lives in the woods of Wenlock Edge. But there's another kind of trouble here.
On Wenlock Edge, the wood's in trouble, for fear and loss the poor heart tease. A Shropshire lad is bent up double, to mourn the cuckoo from these leaves.
Just as Mary Webb wrote her romantic rural fiction, and Thomas Butler his register, and Monks their chronicles, and A.E. Houseman his nostalgic verse, so we must write for this place, its wildlings and its troublesome ghosts. We follow the nutter in the woods, the beggar priest of Orpheus, leading Milburger's donkey in search of the cuckoo, lost in the land of Wininicas.
He led the donkey by a length of twine along the abandoned railway line, and the air was drenched in green. And the air was drenched in green.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much to Alexa Newman, Lydia and Penny Goff, and of course Mia and Nona Cunningham. Let's give them a big hand.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you for your patience. We'll go for a walk, shall we, Will?
That would be great.